Hello, everybody. This is RJ Shay, and I'm at the St. Louis Artists Guild in Clayton, Missouri. This is our new facility, and behind me is our latest show, which is going on. I invite you all to come down here. We're in the old famous and bar building on Forsyth and Jackson Avenue in downtown Clayton, and it's a wonderful place to come. And we invite you to come down and see our new facility, meet some new friends, and see the people who are running this whole thing. We're having a ball. I want to introduce you tonight to our guest speaker for our illustrators section. His name is Ray Harvey. And Ray started off in the same business I did, and I'm still doing it the hard way. No, Ray's doing it the hard way, actually. I'm still working on a drawing board, whereas Ray took it from illustration on a drawing board to much bigger heights. And when I say bigger heights, I'm talking about several stories in the air. Ray is, well, I'm going to let you explain what it is. What do you call yourself exactly, Ray? What are you doing for a living, and how do you do it?
For the most part, I just consider myself a muralist, a creative spirit, and a decorative painter. I do everything from majority of the time to murals, which are large-scale illustrations. My largest project to date is 17,000 square feet, but most of my murals are anywhere from 20 feet tall to 50 to 100 feet wide, something like that is pretty much a standard painting. But I also do marbling and paint techniques and whatever anyone needs.
Now, you started as an illustrator. You started working for Murals Corporation, right?
That's true.
When you got out of college, and you were on a regular drawing board. How did that progress to what you're doing now, where you're doing 40-foot walls and 100 feet wide?
Well, not by plan, I can tell you that. Nobody plans to do what I'm doing. I did desk illustration, what I call it, and really like that a lot. But just kind of the way the market changed in the early 90s, and I know things that I liked, things that I saw. I got into working with a lot of interior designers, and so I ended up being closer to walls than I was tables, and they needed murals, and I kind of had to teach myself how to do it. And my first mural was, I wouldn't even consider it a mural now. I do bigger easel paintings than what this mural was, but it was 6 foot 8 inches tall by 42 inches wide, and to me that was the biggest painting I'd ever seen in my life. And now I've done some concept sketches that are almost that big. So like I said, you don't plan it. It's just I've got a thing about painting large, and really I like painting large because I learned who I was, and that I just don't paint well small. I just don't feel comfortable painting small. I don't think my work is as good, and really I like work just bigger the better. That's why I like street art and public art, because it goes out to where the people are, and it's not in a gallery. You don't have to pay admission to go see it. Every day when you drive to work, you may see one of my murals. Not know who it was that did it, but you always see it. I know people look for them. When I'm out there working, people are honking and cheering me on. They will bring me drinks and well wishes and come to talk to me and tell me their experience about art. And it's just a whole different industry, and it just, again, didn't plan it, but I'm happy with it.
You told us some wonderful stories tonight about the interaction with the general public when you're out there for sometimes days, weeks at a time, putting this mural on a wall, and you have passersby who want to know and want to give you probably advice, etc., and want to tell you what they think, and you got a lot of critics out there, don't you?
A lot of good critics. I welcome all the compliments, and that's 99% of what I hear. And the only time I think I really receive any negative feedback is when it just isn't the subject matter they may have liked to see. But I was painting a mural down in Pacific, Missouri, just a few months ago, and in the scene is a big cliff hillside, and with people in front of it and a train. And the guy pulls up in his pickup truck and his trailer, and he and his wife in the front. He yells out, "Hey, looks good," or something like that. And I said, "Thank you." And I walked out to say hi. And he said, "Man, that's really something." He said, "I tell you what, those hills in the background," he said, "those caves and everything," goes, "probably anybody could have painted that." But he said, that train shows you've got talent." He said, "That's really good." And I didn't know what to say. Okay. I said thank you, and we talked about things. And as the conversation progressed, I realized that maybe I was done talking and should go back to painting, because he was starting to tell me some stories I didn't really want to hear. So you meet all kinds of people out there. You meet some wonderful people with great experiences, people that know a lot about art or know a lot about the subject you're painting. The area. They want to know about me. They want to know about background, how I got started. Everybody's brothers, uncles, cousins got somebody in the family that's an artist, and I like hearing about that. I've met people from all over the world on some of the projects, people from Europe and down under. I've really been exposed a lot, and that's what you get when you do street art, when you do public art. You will get that. I didn't get that when I was in the studio. I didn't get that when art hangs in the gallery wall. That is good and fine. I like doing that. This life kind of brings the art more to life.
You had an interesting experience when you were doing a bunch of murals in Cuba, Missouri, of all places, which is on Route 66. And that's where you met people from all over the planet. Is that right?
Absolutely. I didn't really believe it. They told me if I painted on Route 66 down in Cuba, I'd meet people from all over the world. And I nodded and thought, oh, sure. And I met, my first thing was a guy pulled up in an old car in his family, and he saw the mural, pointed at his camera. I said, sure, take all the pictures you want. And he was taking pictures, and I was having a great conversation with him, only I didn't realize he didn't speak English. And through a little broken English, I got it. He was from Austria, and they had flown into Chicago, had rented this old antique car, and they were doing Route 66. And what other people tell me is that the Europeans' idea of a great way to see America, the way you really want to do it, is to go Route 66. And so I've met people from New Zealand and Australia and Austria and Europe and Italy and Canada and just all over. I've met them from all over. And they all come to Cuba, do this pilgrimage to see these murals at Mural City and to do Route 66. And it's really cool to be part of that.
And you had a honeymoon couple from Venice, Italy, did you not, who wanted to come to Cuba on their...
They did come to Cuba, and as I said, I don't know how that marriage turned out, but that was probably about 10 years ago, and a couple who lived in Venice came to Route 66 in Cuba, Missouri to see the murals, and they were from Venice. And of all the Americans that would love to go to Venice on their honeymoon, these people came to Cuba.
And you paint on all kinds of surfaces. And I found what was fascinating is you're restricted by what you have to paint on, and you got to figure out how to make an illustration work on a surface that is brick, that's bumpy, that's got problems with it, and how you prepare mentally to get involved in that is fascinating to all of us.
Well, that is all true. It's a puzzle. It has challenges each time I do it, and I don't think there's ever been two murals that have been somewhat similar. And just about, I've lived in Washington, Missouri for 20 years. I've never done a mural in Washington, Missouri. So everywhere I go, I'm in the van for at least an hour, and so I use that hour to think about what I'm going to do when I get there. And people wonder how I paint so fast, because I'll do a 75-foot mural in a week. It's not unusual at all. It depends on the subject matter. But I've done so many. I've done almost 400 or over 400. I've lost track. We got to 350. My wife and we saw somebody on the internet bragging about how many murals they had done on the internet. And I asked her, I said, do you think if we both sat down and thought about it, could we count up and add and think about all the murals I'd done? And it took a few days. And each day we said, oh, I thought of another one. Remember that one down the Ozarks or wherever? And we got to over 350. Well, that was back in 2011 or 12. And like I said, that 17,000 square foot project, which was many, many murals. And, I do roughly 12 standard murals a year, one a month.
How many people have you met that do the same thing you do? I would think that would be a very small group.
Well, I guess it is. I've met others. I don't know if I'm unusual to other artists or other types of artist industries, but I don't talk to a lot of artists. I don't run into a lot of artists. Where I'm working is out in a parking lot or in a park or an odd location, and often I will have to bid against other artists, but still you don't meet them then. You don't see them then. I search them out. I want to see what everybody's doing. I want to see the quality of their work and the finish of their work. I want to know what's out there, not only for competition, but you want to grow, you want to get better. I mean, someone asked me tonight, if the way I do people or whatever has changed, and absolutely. I mean, I change all the time. I mean, I'm constantly changing based on what I see other people doing.
Yeah, and you're doing some different stylizations too with some of the pieces you're doing.
Well, when you're my age, and like I said, I've been doing art since I was 6. And I've been freelance for 30 years as of last month, and so it got to the point where I started thinking, I've painted like everybody. What does Ray Harvey paint like? And so I had a technique that I kind of developed back in '99, and I always liked it, but I never got an opportunity to use that style on any of my commercial work. And then there was times I put my own self in my own way, and I'd say, well, I'm not going to show them that look there. It's too modern or too whatever. They want to see real. If they want a car, they want a real looking car. And so a couple situations came up where I was able to use that style, and I did the style, and they loved it. And to date, that what I call chisel or stroke style that I use, it's a little contemporary. It's real enough. I had a project I did for J Bucks. They had 35 portraits they wanted of St. Louis celebrities, and I said, well, can I do it in this style? And I showed it to him, and I can do it in black and white. And he says, I don't care what you do as long as it looks like the person. That's all that matters. And I thought, wow, this is great. 35 portraits, I get to do it my way. And so that style has developed and has progressed, and I feel very comfortable doing it. And I wish I could do every mural like that, but if anybody gives me the choice, that's how I'm doing it.
Well, it's an outstanding style that you developed for that, and I think it's terrific. And the pieces that you do are absolutely wonderful, and they're getting better and better and better, I think.
I hope they keep getting better as I don't feel like I'm winding down. I mean, my body may tell me I'm going to wind down. I'm 58 now, and I don't know how old you're supposed to retire when you do murals. I mean, artists don't ever retire. I mean,
I'm a little bit older than you, and
You're still working?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, I got a couple months left.
When I retire, they're going to be going, dearly beloved, and they're going to be kicking some dirt. So
I figure I'm taking a header off a ladder, so that's how that's going to work.
Wow, what you do for a living is incomprehensible to me, really is, in the scope and size that you work. What are you working on right now? You showed us a couple pieces you just finished that you're really proud of, the Clark Terry piece down on Broadway. And why don't you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, the Clark Terry one was one I did late last fall, and it was more or less a competition. It was part of their Mural on Broadway project. They were putting out a call for submissions for their 7th mural on Broadway. And I chose Clark Terry as my subject and did the presentation. And fortunately for me, they loved it, and we progressed in doing the mural. And I was able to do my style, do Clark Terry my style, and it just was a great wall, great exposure, great venue where everybody sees it, everybody knows it, and that's really cool. That's one of the 2 things coming up for me is that Carondelet has now put out a submission for the 8th mural, and I've submitted, my application at this point, and I'm waiting to hear if indeed I am one of the last 3 chosen to go to the presentation process. So that I am hoping I have to look forward to. And the second thing is I just picked up a project today for a banquet center down in South County. Pretty standard mural. It's 15 feet tall and it's 45 feet long.
Oh yeah, that's a standard mural.
And so it's a wedding banquet facility. And again, you listen to the people and you hear what their needs are and what they're going to really get the most bang for their buck. And it's an older building. It's in the middle of a parking lot. There's not much there pretty compared to some wedding facilities that have gardens and parks and whatever. And so he wanted a place where they could get photos taken, a photo op type place. And so this one wall, I'm doing a 45-foot mural, and the mural is designed right now to be a really giant, large, gold ornate Baroque picture frame. And within this picture frame is a montage of New Orleans. It's the Royal Orleans Banquet Center. So I'm going to do a New Orleans theme with Louis Armstrong and the church and French Quarter and cable cars, that kind of thing, and streetcars. And see if we can make a nice scene for somebody to get their picture taken in front of.
You've had an enormous amount of different subject matter that you've done. In fact, you've even painted part of the Sistine Chapel on someone's ceiling.
Yes, I have. Actually, it was their wall of their dining room. It was a very tall wall, and I went in there and I prepared the wall to have the cracks and the seams and the rustic look of an old wall. And then I did the creation of man with Adam and God, and of course I've also done that very same scene in an Italian restaurant where Adam has Miami Vice sunglasses on and God is offering him pizza. So yeah, I've painted so many wild, crazy things, but that's what keeps it interesting. And I don't know. Someone asked tonight about, do I get upset when people, I'll hear a painting goes real cheap at an auction, or they paint over an illustration. I take the project serious, I take the painting serious, but once it's all done, it's just a painting on the wall. I mean, there's, my family's what's important. It's not that paint. People, don't touch it, don't, be careful. It's just paint.
Plus, you have so many stories that are an outcropping of what you do for a living, because you're stuck out there in the middle of the public, and a lot of times you have a lot of great stories about interaction with the public and the people coming to see you, people wanting to come and play music in front of your artwork, etc. What are you working on right now? Is this big 75,000 square foot project that you're working on?
Well, that project is ongoing. I mean, you saw the photos of it, and as I also said, I can't speak too much about it, but I hope to probably be back there in the winter months, when it's indoors and I can't paint outside anymore. Or I've thought about, just trying to extend the circle more south, and in a climate, an area of the country that's got a little warmer climate, and I can do more paintings in the winter months. But I mean, there's plenty of indoor scenes. There's projects at Union Station. There's indoor big, commercial projects that, it's hard to stay busy, but at the same time, I'm just one guy. So it only takes one job to keep me busy. So that's the good news.
If somebody wanted to look at your artwork, where would they find you?
Very easy. My name's Ray Harvey, and you go to rayharveyart.com, and there's a gallery section on there. There's a blog of some of my photographs. I try to update it, but as everyone knows, when you're painting, and you don't get to it as often as you'd like, but there is a lot of stuff on there for people to see.
There is a lot of stuff for people to see. I've looked at it, and I'm amazed every time I look at the scope of some of the size of the art that you work on. And I got to tell you, I appreciate you coming tonight. Everybody was very, very interested, and it was a lot of fun watching you. Plus, you're a photographer. That's a whole nother story we need to talk about sometime.
Maybe when I get older and I can't do the ladders and the lifts, then maybe it'll be photography. I don't know.
Well, Ray, thanks for coming tonight. It was a pleasure. I'm glad to have introduced you to some new people at the Artist Guild tonight, and I invite you guys back for our next meeting in October. I can't tell you who's going to be here, but just watch for the posting on the Artist Guild site. This is RJ signing out with my friend Ray Harvey tonight. Thanks a lot for coming. Have a great night.